would see to my own needs and care not a whit for others. But I am a mammal, and, like other mammals, I have a social brain. I am wired to care, especially about those I am attached to. My mammalian brain sees to it that I am attached to my family and my friends. This means that I am concerned about how they are getting on. I have empathy and sympathy, and sometimes moral indignation. I can be powerfully motivated to cooperate, even when doing so entails going against my own interests. My brain has also learned the traditions of my kith and kin. Consequently, I may be moved to tell the truth when a lie would be self-serving. I may be moved to punish those who torment the weaker ones, or who exploit the gullible ones. I have a conscience. Or, as I sometimes think of it, my brain sees to it that I have a conscience. Some of the deepest thinking on human morality originates with the Greek philosophers in the 5th century BCE. These include Plato and Aristotle, and in his unique style, Socrates. Interestingly, the ancient Greeks did not have a single word that is equivalent to our word conscience. They did not need the word, however, to appreciate the persuasive influence of moral feelings. The specific word conscience was invented later by the Romans. In Latin, con means in common, and scientia means knowledge. So conscientia meant, roughly, knowledge of the community standards. Like Socrates, however, the Roman philosophers knew that conscience cannot always conform to community standards, for our moral sense sometimes requires us to challenge those very standards. Famously, Martin Luther, the priest and theologian who was a seminal figure in the Protestant Reformation, rebuffed prevailing church standards when he nailed his devastating objections to the cathedral door in 1517. The church's standards, especially as they involved money-grubbing and craven obedience to authority, were precisely what Luther was convinced were morally heinous. Luther explicitly used conscience to mean a broader knowledge of what is morally right and wrong, a sensibility extending beyond prevailing standards. Invoking this construal of conscience raises the question of the source of human knowledge of right and wrong, if not community standards. Socrates had a lifelong concern with how we come by our moral convictions. He was especially troubled by our propensity to claim certainty about what is right and wrong, even when that certainty is misplaced. In revealing the pattern of his own moral deliberations, he referred to his inner voice, where we might speak instead of conscience. Always modest, Socrates explained that his inner voice was not entirely reliable and might sometimes lead him astray. Acknowledging the unreliability of his inner voice led Socrates to claim that moral wisdom necessitated admitting our moral ignorance and imperfection. Phony wisdom, he warned, had the look of dogmatic conviction. Certainty about one's moral stance might be soothing, but it tends to blinker us to damage we are about to cause. Socrates didn't imply that his inner voice speaks only about moral questions. One's inner voice can examine both sides of a moral issue, but it can also chatter on about a lot of things, both moral and practical, both sensible and foolish. On financial matters, my inner voice often sounds like my thrifty dad. You change the oil yourself, dearie. No need to pay someone to do it for you. When I am writing prose, my inner voice sounds like Mrs. Lundy, my grammar teacher, catching the misplaced modifier. Quite often, the voice sounds just like me talking to myself. Look on the funny side. Or, during the years when philosophers bashed me for studying the brain, outlast the bastards. Sometimes my conscience is not a voice at all, but an uneasiness, a nagging sense of something needing to be done, or maybe something needing to be avoided. Or it is the way an image keeps snagging my attention, like a mental song that I cannot shut off. As Paul Strome ruefully puts it, the characteristic habit of conscience is to goad, prick, wheedle, denounce, and harass, rather than to mollify or assuage. Is there a precise definition of the word conscience? As with many words, such as vegetable and friend, we know well enough what it means, despite lacking